Hey guys, welcome back. In this lecture, we will discuss about one more option related to AJAX, and that is handling the status code received after the AJAX request processed. Okay, and the status code is simply an object of numeric HTTP codes and functions to be called when the response has the corresponding status code. In general, whenever you send a request with some HTTP verb associated with that request, then it first goes to the web server, and then web server first process this request, and then it returns the response along with some status code. And status code depends on the processing of your AJAX request. If your AJAX request processed successfully, then status code might be like 302, 204, 200. And if your request not processed successfully, then the status code can be like 404, 401, 500, 503, and so on. And every status code always has a specific reason behind it. Okay, for example, if your server returns 404 status code, that means the resource you are looking for does not exist on the server. And if your web server returns 401 status code, that means that is an unauthenticated request that you processed. Okay, and if the server returns 500, that means there is some internal server error, or there are some uh, errors in your code. Okay, and using the status code option, you can handle the DOM based on whatever the status code returned by the server. If the request is successful, then status code function takes the same parameters as the success callback. And if the result is an error, then it takes the same parameter as the error callback. Okay, so now it's time to start using this status code, or to look how we can use this status code option when we send ajax request. Okay, so let's start using this. So to use the status code option in our ajax request, we simply need to use this status code just like other option in the ajax request. Okay, but before using that, I would just like to remind that what we did in the last lecture, that we make this text editable using jQuery. Okay, and we will use the status code in the same ajax request. Okay, so first switch to the project directory and open the application.js. Okay, or wherever you implemented this ajax request, or if you do not implemented this into application.js or into some partial, you can even write your ajax request from scratch, and you can add the status code option in that request. Okay, so now let me go through that request. Okay, here you can see that I'm sending the ajax request to update the book title when I click on the button with id update book name. Okay, and the status code is an object where each key represents the status code, and it has a function which is used to perform something when you get the specific status code in the response. Okay, so let me first define the status code here. Status code. Okay, and this is just an option, just like a url data type data. Okay, and it is an object where we can define status code as the keys. Okay, so for example, your server returns the 404. Okay, then we need to define a function for this key or this status code, and the function should be just in the same way like you defined for the before, send, complete, and success option. Okay, so first define the function here. Okay, and whatever you want to do in this function, you can define here. For example, let's say we simply want to return that the response you are looking for does not exist, so we can add a simple alert message here. And in the alert message, you can write the resource you are looking for does not exist. Okay, and just add the comma here. And now you can add another status code as well. Let's say, for example, you added another key, that is 500, and define a function for it. Okay, and into this function, you can simply write an alert message that this is an internal server alert. So okay, so just add alert, and then internal server error. Okay, at the semicolon here, and first let me wrap the word. Okay, so just click on the word wrap, and here you can see that now I added this status code option into my request. Okay, but when I will get this status code, okay, for example, here you can see that 404, it returns when you are trying to look for a resource that does not exist on the database or does not exist on the server. Okay, but here you can see that when I click on this button, I am getting the valid book id. So for now, just to test the 404 status code, you just need to provide any random book id that does not exist in the database. Okay, and now just come to the browser and refresh the page. Before that, first to save this file, okay, and then just come to the browser and refresh your page. Okay, now click on this editable icon, and here let's make some space on the terminal first. Okay, so when you make some space on the terminal, you can click on the update button. Okay, and here you can see that the resource you are looking for does not exist. That means our status code option is working. And why we are getting this error, here you can notice simply that in the terminal, that what id it is taking into the param, that is 56, and this is a very long id, and we do not have any book exist with this id, or any record exist with this id into our model date, into our database for that particular model. Okay, in my case this is the book model, so there is no book exist in the database with such id. Okay, and if you are trying the same ajax request or with status code option for any of your model, then you might see this. Okay, so here you can see that the server is returning completed 404 not found. Okay, and so is we are getting in the ajax request. That means our status code 404 is not working. Now let's use the 500 error code. Okay, so for getting the 500 error code, let's we need to make something errorful into our code. Okay, so just open the books controller. Okay, let's open the admin books controller, and in this admin books controller, here you can see that I wrote this method updated book name. Okay, but by error I mean that that should not be syntactical error. Okay, that is semantically fine and syntactically fine. There should be some naming which does not exist, that could be possible. Okay, for example, here you can see that if I made this mistake, okay, or if I made this mistake, then your request will not come to this action even. Why? Because this is the syntactical error, and your server will return an error, syntax error. Okay, so in that case, what you need to do, you need to make some error which rails will recognize when your code being executed. Okay, so here you can add something like, let's say, update attr. Okay, that means it will look for this method when it is in come to this request or come to this controller action update book name, and then it will try to find an instance method for the book model instance. Okay, so now let's save this and go to the browser. Okay, just execute, refresh the page, and now send this request on the update book name action. Okay, and when you click on update, you will see. Okay, so it's still sending the 404. Why? But because there is a reason, because we did not unchanged the id. Okay, now we need to send the valid book id. Okay, then it will come, then the request goes to that particular controller action, and then it will recognize for the internal server error. Okay, so just undo this, save this, and now refresh the page. Okay, so refresh page and click on this pencil icon and click on the update button now. And when you click on the update button, you can see that there is some internal server error. Okay, and you can verify it on terminal as well, that here you can see no method error, undefined method update attr for book. Okay, that means that this method that we implemented in this book controller does not exist into our model or controller or anywhere in the code, so that's why we are getting this internal server error. Okay, now let's undo this and just go to the browser and refresh the page. Okay, and now if you process this, you will get your book updated successfully. Okay, so we tested the status code options with both 404 and 500 status code. And here you can see that we displayed the alert messages into 404 and 500, but this is not limited to display the alert message only. As initially I told you that the function that you assign to status code might take the same argument as the status code, so you can handle some DOM here as well, rather than displaying only simple alert messages. Okay, so for example, let's say display some error message into the alert box. Not the alert box, in the bootstrap alert. Okay, just like we did for the deleting books for bulk. Okay, so now let's open the application.html.trb application. And into this application.html.trb, what you need to do, you just need to define an error area inside the controller. So just define that div here, and that div must have an id. So for example, div id, and here you can add, let's say, response alert. and you can just save this div as a empty id. Okay, and now what you need to do, that you need to assign the error message whenever you get some error like 404 or 500. Okay, so just come here into the application.js, and here you can see that I already implemented some uh, error message into this success option for deleting books. Okay, so what I can do, that I can just copy this. Okay, and as I told you that this is same as the success, handling the success option. So what I can do here, I can simply remove this alert message, and I can just handle the DOM using this. Okay, and here I just need to update the id, and that is response alert. Okay, and save the file. And now let's change the id again, just to see that we are getting the 400 error, 404. Okay, so provide that id, and now save the file and just come to the browser. But before that, let's change the text as well. Here we can say the resource looking for does not exist. Okay, and just save this. Now what we can do, we can just refresh the browser, and we can click on this pencil icon and send the request. Now when you send the request, you will see that the response looking for does not exist, but it's alert success. So what we can do, alert danger. Okay, and now go to the browser, refresh the page, and send this AJAX request again. Okay, and this time you will see that the resource you are looking for does not exist. Okay, however, you can fix the message type of the resource you are. Okay, and now let's try to do the same thing for 500 internal server code as well. So what we can do, just simply remove this alert message and paste the code here. And here what you can use as the text, simply internal server error. Okay, and save this. Now let's try to generate some internal server error. So first, to make the book id as valid book id. Okay, so what we can do here, simply dollar and then book id, save it, and make that wrong method name again, update attr. Okay, and go to the browser and refresh it now. Okay, and now when you click on the update request again, you will see internal server error. And these are just examples. You can try similar thing for other status codes as well. Also, if you wish, you can use status code options to handle the event that you will do using success and error code, and I told you this initially. But in my opinion, you should use success and error options to handling such events, and use the status code options for specific needs. For example, if you want to show the exact errors. Okay, now I hope you got some idea about the status code options. Okay, so let's undo the changes we made to raise errors. So what we can do, just go to the controller and undo this. Okay, because we just made this mistake for checking the error code is working or not. Okay, since it is working, so just switch to the previous state. And now if you save it and refresh the page, then your page must work, then your feature must work perfectly. Okay, so let's try to use it, update it, volume 2. Okay, so and when you click update, it must update. Okay, and it's working. Okay, and this is all from this lecture. We will meet into another lecture with another good to know stuff, but till then, try this lecture at your end. So thanks for watching this, and tata, goodbye, take care, and stay safe.